All right, I think we're about ready to get started. Emily, if you want to kick us off.
Sure, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining this Rosedale North Water and Wastewater Renewal Project online meeting. We're happy to have you here this evening. I'll just cover our agenda and logistics. So we'll do a welcome. I'll cover some logistics about how to post your questions in the meeting chat box. Our project manager will give a project overview, and then we will answer questions at the end. So you should see on the right side of your screen a chat box that says welcome to the meeting, and you can type in your questions there. At the end of the meeting, we will answer those questions. If you have general questions, we'll answer them during the meeting. If you have a specific question to your property, you can always put that in there and we'll follow up with you later and provide that information if you give us your email or your phone number. I am Emily Chancellor and I handle community outreach for our Austin Water projects. And we are, the project team is pretty much all working from home under the stay home work safe orders to bring you this online meeting. So we'll be turning our cameras on so you can see our faces, and you may hear some noise in the background or, you know, see that we're all in different locations bringing this work to you. We've done a lot of practice runs to use this technology, and we hope it's a really seamless session and very informative for you. We know that we have to have a backup, so Matt, who you heard speak earlier, if my connection drops for some reason, he'll take over presenting the meeting and helping out with your questions. We also know that technology glitches happen. We'll be recording this meeting and posting a recording on the project website afterwards. So if you have trouble at some point and can't keep your connection or can't hear, then you'll still have an opportunity to get the information. And we also are available, so we'll be glad to set up an individual conference call or answer questions by email. So I think I'm just checking my notes here. I think I covered everything I needed to. And so we're going to go next into introductions and let our project manager kick that off.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Sho Angia, and I'm a project manager with Public Works, City of Austin. I will be the project manager from the city's end on this Rosedale North Water and Wastewater Improvements project.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ron Mick. I am with BGE. We are a consulting engineering firm, and we are the design firm for the project, and I'm leading the design.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joel Lewis. I work with Ron at BGE and doing the design for City of Austin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deidre Kirk. I'm the project sponsor for Austin Water. As project sponsor, my responsibilities include assuring project implementation, making sure funding is available, and project as well as technical questions receive responses.
Hi, I'm Emily Chancellor. I introduced myself earlier, and I do handle communications for our capital improvement projects here at Austin Water. I'll look forward to working with you all throughout the project.
And my name is Matt Hart. I'm a public information officer for Public Works. I'll be assisting Emily throughout this project, keeping the website up to date and assisting with communications and meetings like this.
Thank you, everyone. We wanted to make sure that you could see the folks behind this work tonight. And before we get started on the project overview, I just wanted to address, so we've gotten feedback from a few folks about the name of the project. And we understand that the project is in the Allendale neighborhood boundary. We just wanted to let you know that we work hard to try to make the name of the project relevant to the community. And when this project started in the concept phase a number of years ago, the staff working on this did find a Rosedale North organization in the city's community registry. And so they felt like this would be a relevant name for the project. We understand that organization is no longer. And so we just wanted to clarify that on the front end. We're working hard to try to make sure all of the associations in the area are aware of the project and working, of course, with the residents who live adjacent to the project. So I wanted to just clarify that, and then I'm going to hand it over to Sho to give you the project overview.
Thanks, Emily. So this project will replace aging infrastructure as part of the Renewing Austin program. Renewing Austin, is part of one of Austin Water's program where they collect data on waterline breaks, so that way they can identify, where most breaks happen, and so they can prioritize with replacing the aging pipelines and, of course, bringing, better infrastructure for the growing demands of the city. And just like a general overview of, how much or what we're replacing, we're looking at about 5,800 linear feet of water lines and about 5,300 linear feet of wastewater lines. And I do want to talk a little bit about the project timeline. Right now, we are in the design phase and we're getting close to completion. We're hoping we will wrap that up sometime in October this year, and so we can take it to bid, later this year. And we're looking to start construction in spring 2021. And we're looking at an approximate construction duration of 2 years. This map is to show the project extent. Kind of showing the boundaries. And one thing that I did want to note is that the north is actually pointed towards our left on the screen. So we thought like this orientation seemed to be better for, kind of viewing the boundaries of the project. So if you can see, Allendale boundary is to the north, Longmont Avenue is to the south, with Woodview to the east and Shoal Creek on the west. So we're looking at a majority of the construction happening along Shoal Creek Boulevard. And we're looking, if you can see, I'm not sure if you can all see clearly, but the blue lines represent the proposed water lines and the green lines represent the proposed wastewater lines. So if it's not that clear here in the presentation, this will be available in the project website information for everybody to take a look at it later as well. I just want to quickly kind of, list what the impacted streets are. So it's going to be Nasco Drive, Northland Drive, Shoal Edge Court, Shady Oak Court, Shoalmont Drive, Sonora Court, and Shoal Creek Boulevard. I do want to mention here that there is a relocation of wastewater line along Northland Drive. The relocation will happen from an easement at the back of some of the residents' properties. And those impacted residents have already been contacted about this work, and I just thought I'll mention that. So it'll be relocated to the streets right away, and this would be in the best interest of the city and the residents, and it will provide for a long-term maintenance accessibility. So I just want to talk a little bit about what we should be expecting during construction. So the contractor will be awarded around spring of 2021. And once the contractor is on board, when the construction starts, you will see the contractor will be using heavy equipment to dig the trenches, so to lay the new water and wastewater lines. So we're looking at the roads to be patched after the line is installed. And of course, all the repaving will be done at the end of the project. Just want to kind of note about how the right-of-way works. Most of the work that we're going to be performing will be in the right-of-way. In many cases, the right-of-way is located between the street and the sidewalk in an area that might be considered part of your lawn. So it may be necessary for you to remove some of the landscaping or any sort of personal items before a new water line service can be connected to your water meter. And traffic, I know that everybody is concerned. We've already gotten some feedback and questions from residents on how the work will be performed. So I do want to kind of say that we'll be performing work in sections. And so we'll close some lanes of traffic, but will not be closing the entire streets at any given time. So there will be access to the public and emergency vehicles at all times. The one thing that I do want to note is that if we're right in front of your driveway and your driveway access needs to be limited for a short duration, then we will coordinate that work with you, make sure you're comfortable with the timings, and once that happens, once the construction happens, we'll have an on-site inspector available for constant communication as well. And at some point, of course, we will need to turn off the water to connect to the new line, and this will likely be for a few hours. So all the residents will receive flyers and will be posted on the door. We typically provide like a 48-hour advance notice prior to turning the water off. Work hours, typically, we're looking at Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We may need to work some weekends, but typical work hours are just Monday through Friday, 8 to 6. I do want to stress the importance of health and safety. I think that's the #1 priority, especially in this pandemic situation. Austin Water construction projects are all considered critical infrastructure, and therefore construction activities will be allowed under the current City of Austin restrictions. All of the construction crew members are mandated to follow all of the safety guidelines for the current pandemic situation, and those will include all the workers required to wear face coverings and maintaining the 6 feet social distancing. And anytime that they're going to have more than 10 workers, they must stagger their shifts. And all sites must begin each workday with safety briefings and kind of as a reminder to follow all of the safety guidelines for COVID situation. Hand washing is required, so there has to be hand washing stations, and restroom facilities must be at least 6 feet apart, and work sites must provide disposable paper towels, just kind of briefing on all of the safety requirements during this difficult time. So project communications, I think Emily already talked about the newsletter. So we will be providing constant updates in our project information site. So if anybody wants to sign up there, they'll receive any updates we provide. We do want to keep the constant communication for all the residents. And project notices, as I mentioned earlier, we will be providing like a 48-hour notice prior to any planned water shutoff. And the project inspector will be on site during the construction. And the next meeting that we plan on having is when we have the contractor on board, just so we can do like a meet the contractor public meeting, so everybody is aware of who is going to be working in their neighborhood. I do want to kind of talk a little bit about water shutoff. I mean, I do know that, we do everything possible to plan everything, but since there is aging infrastructure in the community, there could be some unplanned water breaks, but we'll make every effort to, bring the service back to normal as soon as possible. And also we will make sure to be as less disruptive. I know nobody likes to see construction in their community, but we're aware of the neighborhood sensitivities. So we'll be definitely working to be as less disruptive as possible on this project. I don't think I had anything else. And so I'm going to hand this back to Emily, our Public Information Officer.
Thank you, Sho. Thanks for that great overview. We have had one question posted, and for everyone who's on the line, you can type in your question in the chat box on the right, and this is the time when we will be answering those. So we have someone who said, please advise, once the new water supply lines are installed, would it help homeowners to turn on their outside water faucets first before turning on their inside water faucets? Someone on the project team want to address that?
Sho, you want me to talk about that?
Oh, that'll be awesome, Ron.
Okay. Yeah, so the city processes require that the mains are going to be disinfected and flushed thoroughly before they're put into service. So you shouldn't have any need to turn on your outside taps first. If it makes you feel more comfortable, certainly go ahead and do that. But it's TCEQ requirements and city requirements that the water, once they put the main into service, it's completely potable and there shouldn't be any debris in the line at all.
I can add that we do sometimes give folks that option or recommendation. I know the water is definitely potable, like Ron said. Sometimes when the water is shut off, there can be calcium buildup, and so I know our inspectors out there sometimes do give that advice, just as an option. So I just want to ask the project team if there are other aspects of the project that you might want to emphasize or talk about. And we have one more question coming in, so take a look at that. All right, we have a couple more questions here. Okay, can you describe the street excavations? How big will they be?
Okay, I can take that again, Sho.
Okay.
So the mains we're replacing are 8-inch and 12-inch mains. So these are not really extremely large excavations. They will be using excavation equipment, and it's probably about a 2-foot to 3-foot wide bucket on the excavating machine on the average digging these trenches. The lines are not exceptionally deep or exceptionally large, but it's not a minimum either. There will be real heavy equipment out in the street. Okay.
And Ron, as a follow-up here, there's a question, you may have already answered it, but how large are the pipes we're installing for water and for wastewater?
For the most part, they're going to be 8-inch on water and 8-inch on wastewater. We do have a segment along Northland Drive that is 12-inch water main, but most of these are 8-inch lines, which is the standard size service main in a neighborhood.
Sounds good. Glad I gave that warning about barking dogs earlier.
I have a barking dog, so I'm going to try and stay on mute as much as possible.
That's okay. This is how it works in the world now. Okay, I'm publishing the next question. Glad to see so much engagement from folks and glad we can answer the questions. Okay, will the street excavation be on the west side of SCB, Shoal Creek Boulevard, east side of Shoal Creek Boulevard, or in the middle? And would the bike lanes be disrupted? Do you all have your plans there that you can refer to see which side of the street, or is that maybe a question we need to follow up on and put the answer on the website?
I can say pretty much yes. The water line's on one side of the street and the wastewater line's on the other side of the street. So during different phases of the construction, we'll be on the east side of Shoal Creek Boulevard and diverting traffic to the west lane, and then other phases will be doing the opposite. So it's really going to cover both sides of Shoal Creek Boulevard, and the bike lanes will be partially disrupted. There's some rules, and we are working with the traffic transportation department to get the traffic control plan that will maintain the bike lane as much as possible, but it will have some disruption during some portions of construction.
I think we had someone just join by phone, so welcome to the meeting. We have gotten through our presentation and we're now answering questions from folks who are online. I'm publishing the next question. Thank you for so much engagement. Thanks for the presentation. Will you patch each street first, then repave all the streets at the end of the project?
And yes, you're correct. We will be, when they do the water line, they'll bring it back up and do a patch over the water line. And then when they do the wastewater line, they'll patch that. At the very end, they'll come in and do a mill and overlay and repave the entire street.
Okay. Next question is, so I live on Northland and we're getting the larger pipes and a relocated wastewater line. So aside from the size of the pipes, how large will the excavation be? Will it be the whole street? Will it be giant pits? I think they're wanting to get an idea of the excavation area for that wastewater line.
I'm trying to time the barking, folks, so bear with me a little bit.
Hey, Ron,
In Northland, it will be an 8-inch wastewater line. Do you want to answer it? Go ahead.
yeah, I don't have a barking dog, so I'll do it. Yeah, so the lines, when they dig the trenches for lines, they don't go significantly larger than the pipe size. They go 1 to 2 feet larger on each side. So for a 12-inch line, you're looking at maybe a 5-inch or 5-foot width of a trench. And so they don't do the entire street. They just do what they have to excavate to put in that line in safely. And then they'll, like Ron said, they'll patch that up. And they'll move over to the other side of the street, do the wastewater line. So there shouldn't be any giant pits. We're not doing any bore pits or anything like that, which is generally when you see that giant pit that goes down and they bore underneath the street. Everything we're doing is open cut. So the trench lines will be smaller than the giant pit or the whole street. It'll just be what they need to do to put in that line itself.
And it might be helpful to add that the trench will be covered each night. So the crew will cover up and then come back the next day and restart their work. So there's all sorts of guidelines that the contractor must follow to make sure it's a safe work site and to make sure they don't leave any safety hazards at the end of the day. And also, like Sho mentioned earlier, when we are going to construction, a project inspector will be assigned to this project, and that will be really your primary contact. They will be in the field making sure the work is done to the specifications, but they also will be in contact with the community. So if they're going to be moving to a new section that's going to have some impact on driveway access, they'll be knocking on the door and relaying that information. And you will be provided that inspector's cell phone number. So you'll have someone you can reach. You won't be calling around and getting voicemails. Sho and I are always available. That inspector will be there on site and be a liaison to the community. So I find those folks are really invaluable in these projects to helping it go smoothly in the community. All right, so we have more questions. I'll stop talking and get back to those. Glad to see these coming in. Okay. Okay. Do you suppose that some residents might need to stay elsewhere like a hotel while water sewer service is interrupted? Would it take more than a day for these interruptions? So I think that this question is about when the service line for each customer is connected to the new line. And I can answer that. I know that it's typically a few hours and prior notice will be given, and I'm not aware of a situation where customers have had to leave their home, because we'll coordinate with you and it'll be typically on a single day for a few hours. Does anyone from the project team want to add to that? Okay, we'll move on. Have you found a place to store the equipment at night? Sho or Ron, do y'all want to handle that one?
And we haven't designated a specific location. That will be up to the contractor. to locate. I would say that before we go to construction, we will have another meeting like this to meet the contractor, and we can discuss where he's going to store his equipment some more then.
And then the next question is, will this contract be let by competitive bid or will it be done by city public works personnel?
I can take that question. So it is going to go through a competitive bid process. So, whoever is the, topmost contractor will be awarded this project.
I'm gonna go ahead and advance to the last slide, which has the contact information for the project manager and for me. And Matt, I want to just check in with you. Have I missed any questions or just check?
As of now, I think that's all of them.
Okay.
Haven't had a new one come in the last minute, but if you have a question, you can definitely follow up with either of these contacts. Also on the website should be contact information as well. So if we weren't able to get to your question, or if you have something, you can definitely reach us by these means.
Let's just do a last call with the project team. Anyone want to speak up and emphasize anything that we may have missed? Okay. I think we've been able to finish this a little early. We really appreciate everyone taking your time and joining. We're available. Please keep in touch with us, and you'll be hearing from us again early next year as this project moves forward. Thank you all, and good night.